Hello everyone, I joined my father for a movie. Say hi, Dad.
Hello.
You know something, Dad? We're going to need a bigger review for this movie review. This year marks the 50th anniversary of Jaws that set Steven Spielberg, that made him mainstream, one of the greatest filmmakers ever. What do you think of Jaws, Dad?
Well, it's definitely lives up to its reputation. It's a really well-made movie. And as you said, it was the beginning of the summer blockbuster.
Right.
But it is a very rewatchable movie, and it's truly a classic.
Well, just like Casablanca and Citizen Kane, it's a timeless classic.
It is.
It's quotable, has like memorable moments from the opening scene, the characters, the dialogue, and well, especially the opening scene. That's what set the stage for it, where a girl who goes swimming gets eaten by a shark, and then you have this Chief Brody who's trying to close the Amityville beaches to prevent more shark attacks, but you have this business greedy mayor who wants to keep the beaches open for the town's economy.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting characters.
It does.
And, the character development helps it along.
Absolutely.
It's not just a movie about a shark.
Right, right. You remember as a kid I was afraid of horror movies, but this is like one horror film I was able to tolerate because it was a very like neutral, like and ease into horror movies compared to like other like horror movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the only scene that scared me was when the girl gets eaten by the shark, and also the scene when Chief Brody and Hooper are like out like in the middle of the night trying to find the shark.
Right.
They find Ben Gardner's boat and they investigate it. At first, as a kid, when Hooper goes down, I'm thinking, oh no, what if the shark's gonna pop up? But instead, Ben Gardner's dead body freaks him out.
Spoiler.
Sorry. But no, seriously, as a kid, that scene like scared me to death.
Yeah.
Especially like when we weren't expecting a dead body to pop up.
Right. Yeah, that's a real jump scare.
Oh, it is. Mm-hmm. It is. Then it also scares Hooper, who wouldn't be afraid of seeing that, and because especially how when he found it too, that could have proven the evidence of that killed Chrissy Watkins and Alex. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you also like sympathize with Chief Brody's character because he really wanted to do the right thing, but even though like you feel bad also for the boy's mother too, but if she was gonna slap somebody, she should have slapped the mayor, because it's really the mayor that he was the one that really like what's the word
yeah, and he was the one that was against closing the beaches.
Yes.
He was more concerned about the money that was being generated or would have been lost.
Right. Well, basically would have affected the town's economy, because apparently in Amityville, Long Island is a very big tourist attraction. People come out there for the summer to swim, etc. And
yeah.
And we would know we were born and raised in Long Island.
Well, actually, the movie did not occur on Long Island.
Well, that's true. No, you're right.
I mean, it was based on something that happened in Long Island.
Right. Well, actually, also it was based on the 1918 shark attack that happened in New Jersey.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So basically, Jaws is a true story, but of course, fictionalized. Peter Benchley just took like read shark stories and thought of like an idea of like that for his own book. Which have you ever read his book?
Yeah, I did. I read it when the movie first came out years ago. I don't remember much about it.
Well, I never read the book. From what I've learned from my friend Christian, my friend Bill, like obviously the book is different than the movie, of course, and my friend Bill, who wrote a book on horror films, he has a chapter dedicated talking about where he thinks that for once where horror movies are better than the book, and that makes the list Jaws. Even though I never read it, but for what I've heard, one difference is, like, for example, in the book, the mayor was in debt with the mafia, is why he wanted to keep the beaches open. He owed money, whereas in the film, he was just a greedy businessman that wanted to keep the beaches open. Right. And also, there was some kind of like love affair between Hooper and Brody's wife, which that kind of like is a little bit like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, what's that to do with like trying to capture a killer shark? And
yeah, well, the book is going to be different. Books are different because they're more detailed.
True.
And I think they have to keep things moving and add other things to it to keep people turning the pages.
Right, exactly. Well, also like the opening book is like more horrific because of how like it's described in details, whereas originally Spielberg wanted to have the shark pop in that scene, but he was having mechanical problems during the making of the film. That's where he just thought of the idea, like, we won't show the shark. She, basically, according to Susan Backlini, who played the girl who gets eaten by the shark, the opening scene, Spielberg, like, tied something around her and yanked her around.
Yeah.
Which was very, very effective.
Right. Probably more effective than actually seeing the shark.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think one of the things that really good horror movies do is that what's not seen can be more frightening than what is seen.
Oh, no, true. Like, just the thought of, like, when she's being eaten by the shark, you're not seeing, but you're thinking, like, ugh!
Right.
That her leg has been, like, eaten, and Lord knows how much of her body is, yeah.
And then you get a glimpse of it on the beach.
Yeah, true. Oh, that's true, yeah. Because it's reported the next morning of how the missing girl, like, went missing, but little did they know that she was eaten by a shark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see, oh yeah, we haven't talked about Quint, played by Robert Shaw. What did you think of his character?
Really interesting character. I think that, two scenes that stick out in my mind are in the beginning when he makes his entrance and he's, his nails scratch across the chalkboard.
Yes.
And
if anybody remembers chalkboards.
Yeah. Then the other is when he talks about the Indianapolis and the shark attacks on the soldiers.
Yeah, that is one of the greatest, like, monologue scenes in, like, film, not just horror, but in film history, because it's amazing that that was not in the script. Robert Shaw just improvised it, and supposedly he was drunk when he shot that scene.
Right. Yeah.
Because I remember when they were reading it, when they were filming that scene, he said to Steven, like, "Hey, I got this idea about the U.S. Indianapolis speech," and Steven said, "Go ahead, just say what sounds natural, just improvise or whatever you." And it worked.
Yeah, it did.
It's one of those, like, moments that when it's improvised, that's what makes it a great movie and a great scene. Yeah. But sometimes whenever I rewatch this film, I ask myself, I don't know what's more scary, the opening scene or this scene where he's describing the U.S. Indianapolis and how he survived, or especially how he found his crew, like half their bodies were eaten by the sharks. Yeah. And I remember when he says, "I'll never put another life jacket," and later in the film, like, when they don't know what else they're going to do to kill the shark, he gives Hooper and Brody a life jacket, but he doesn't give himself a life jacket. And hence, "I'll never put another life jacket again."
Yep.
Yeah. I also like the scene when they're, like, showing their scars, like, like all the sharks that have attacked them and that let them scars for life. And Brody does this. I mean, well, he's not a sharkologist, but a cop. Even though it's not explained, the way I got it, maybe he got shot or something, or...
Well, I read that that was an appendectomy scar in real life.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
But they never say what it's supposed to be in the movie. Yeah.
But my theory is, was he, like, as being a cop, like maybe he was shot or something?
That's what I think. That's a good guess.
Because he like lifts his shirt up, like, thinking about maybe a time where he got shot as a cop.
I think that's probably what it means.
Yeah. And also his character's afraid of water. He's water phobic because of an experience he had. Even though it's explains afraid of water, they don't explain what the traumatic experience was he had as a kid that made him afraid of the water.
Right.
Yeah. And speaking also, what'd you think of Matt Hooper too?
Yeah, that's Richard Dreyfuss, in an early role.
Yeah.
He's a really good actor.
He is.
I thought, he was funny.
Yeah.
And quirky.
Yes. And he was a marine biologist.
He was a marine biologist.
He's specializing in sharks.
That's right.
Well, let's just say he doesn't have to lie to a woman about that, because he really was a marine biologist and shark. Yeah, but even though he's a smart and intelligent guy, but when even though it was nice of him after when Alex is, having a bad day, being hit by Alex's mother, and he goes to the house, he does a nice thing, bringing some wine, but a little bit of rude manners when he's like, "Is anybody eating this?"
Right.
Yeah. But that's the idea, though. And he's also explaining about, what was his first love for sharks as a kid, and. Yeah, I love their chemistry as friends in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, wait. One thing I wanted to also talk about with Quint's character, he has a bit of an ego in this movie. Like when when he tells the famous line, "You're gonna need a bigger boat," and he doesn't listen to Brody.
Mm-hmm. He's got a big ego.
Yeah, exactly. Especially like when Brody was trying to call for help, he breaks the machine. Right. As a kid, and I say, watch, I'm like, why did he do that? I don't get it. Like,
well, he wanted the money. He didn't want to share the reward with anybody. He wanted to get the money.
Well, again, spoiler right here. When the shark eats him, it's like, well, so much for paying, and now all he did was just pay for his funeral.
Yeah.
And also, that's like one of the greatest endings ever in cinema, where it becomes face to face with Brody and the shark. Smile, you son of a boom! Mm-hmm. And again, also getting the book, the shark just dies. That's it. There's no explanation of the shark's death. He just died. That's it. Mm-hmm. Thank God Spielberg changed that, because originally Peter Benchley was against him with changes, but once he saw the film on screen, he's like, Steven, you did the right move.
Yeah. It's a lot different. You know, the language is different,
right.
Book and film and technique, and you'll see that happen for the most part in most movies that are made, that there's significant differences because something that works in literature does not necessarily work as well cinematically.
Right. True. After all these years later, Jaws has been like, very iconic, and it still continues to be talked about to this day in like film classes or like film history. Mm-hmm. How it just made an impact on like future summer blockbuster movies that came after that. Mm-hmm. The opening scene when the shark is about to eat his first victim through his point of view was inspired from the creature from the Black Lagoon. The difference is Kay survived, whereas Chrissy Walken did not survive. Ties of the dead. They just butchered, thinking, let's make sequels, thinking we could top the first one. And boy, were they wrong on that one. Well, I mean, did you ever see the Jaws sequels?
I may have seen Jaws 2. In fact, I think I did see Jaws 2.
Right.
But I don't remember much about it, and I didn't see the other sequels.
Right. Well, 2 is okay. It's not great. It's mediocre to average. It's hit or miss. It's like, for what I read, that Roy Scheider said he didn't want to do, but was doing only because of contract and money, and Spielberg was asked to direct it, but he said because of the production nightmare of the first film is why he turned it down. But you can't blame him. And also, and he said he wanted to move on to other projects. Like he wanted to make Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which he did. And Hooper wasn't in it. As a kid, I'm like, where's Matt Hooper? But little did I know that time the reason why Richard Dreyfuss wasn't in it, because he was committed to Close Encounters of a Third Kind. 3 and 4, forget it. They are garbage. They were the worst sequels ever to... the fourth one doesn't make any sense. Revenge. What does a shark have revenge against? Yeah. Sharks don't have personalities. They're... all they do is just swim around and eat what's around for prey. And Yeah, you didn't miss Jaws 3 and 4, and ever since then, there have been tons of Jaws. Remember we watched James Rolfe's top 50 crappy shark movies?
Right, yeah, that was funny.
It was. It's like, how did these movies get made? Like, there's Piranha. Well, that's, even though not shark, but still, that was like one of the first early Jaws ripoffs. Right. Yeah. And then there was Deep Blue Sea, which this one was okay, not great. It was a solid one where it's like, all right, something different. It was about these scientists that were trying to find a cure for Alzheimer's, and they thought maybe the sharks had the cure, but little did they know, and they was wrong. Instead of finding a cure for Alzheimer's, they basically made the sharks smarter somehow. There was the Meg, Open Water, which was like Jaws meets Blair Witch Project, which was also based on a true story. Sharknado. Oh my god. The Shallows with Blake Lively. That basically was like if the girl from the opening scene of Jaws did survive and it was not a damsel in distress. 47 meters down, recently, Dangerous Animals, which was like Jaws meets Silence of the Lambs. We can make an entire video about like tons of shark Jaws ripoff movies. We'll be here forever. And of course, because of Jaws' popularity, Universal had a ride to it, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I liked the ride.
So did I, but sadly, it's no longer around. It's debunked. I'm not sure why they closed. Well, again, new generations, but who knows? Maybe they'll bring up something back someday with Jaws. As a kid going on the ride, I used to think that the shark was real. Of course, it was animatronic. It wasn't a real shark.
No.
Yeah. Anything else you want to touch upon with Jaws, or?
Well, I think one other thing that should be pointed out is the music.
Right, yes. Sir John Williams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a really iconic score.
Yeah.
Which at first Steven Spielberg said, are you kidding? When he heard the music, and it's just so simple and it's just so effective. You can't imagine anything else being a harbinger of the any sounds that are more iconic than those sounds when the shark is approaching. It's just so a terrifying type of sound.
Well, just like similar to Halloween, that, you know, it's one of those, like, the moment you hear that iconic song, you just know, like, what it is already without even, like, just saying it. You're like, oh, it's Jaws. John Williams is Jaws. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely a great, legendary, iconic soundtrack. And really, Spielberg said he wasn't, like, all that thrilled about the score at first.
Yeah, when he first heard, you know, the 3 notes or whatever, he was like, he didn't think that was that he was serious about.
Right. Well, with the production problem this movie had, he thought it was going to be a B movie, but he made a great movie, Steven Spielberg.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite movies and horror films of all time in different categories. Jaws. Yeah. Yeah. I guess that's everything we've covered with Jaws. And happy 4th of July. Remember, just don't go swimming at night like Chrissy Watkins did.
Right.
See you later. Bye bye.
Bye bye.